Hello everyone, my name is Ben and welcome back to Pass the Aux Chord, a channel where you wanted it, so it's here. Today we're going to be looking at the age of the Understatement. I am now indeed aware that that is not the title and I misread it and the real title makes more sense. I'm not sure how I heard it in the song and didn't acknowledge the fact that I said it wrong, but nonetheless here we are. By The Last Shadow Puppets, a group fronted by, of course, Alex Turner, who we are very familiar with, in addition to Miles Kane. There's two other guys in there too, but I don't know if they just don't write any of the music or what, but, you know, obviously Miles Kane and Alex Turner are kind of the center of attention here. So, with all that being said, the age of the Understatement, the title track on here, is the first track. Let's give it a try. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. This definitely has that spaghetti western feeling to it. Loving how dramatic this is. Cool, okay. Alright, we got a decent little opener track right there. Something about this is very movie trailer music to me. You know, it's very theatrical, dramatic. It does kind of have that, like I said, that spaghetti western vibe to it that, from what I can tell, that was kind of an obsession of Alex's for a little while. From what I've heard, I guess I should say. And lyrically, it's not doing anything too out of the ordinary as far as other things we've seen with Arctic Monkeys, really. We got some, like, complicated love story stuff going on in here. Maybe like a scenario where a love is brewing to something to that degree. I'm not really sure. But either way, you know, kind of vague. Kind of whatever, but track didn't really stand out to me as anything particularly interesting, so we'll see what comes next though. Standing Next to Me is the name of the next song. You know, having a build up and having it get faster doesn't really pay off when you had it build up for 3 seconds. That sounds pretty beautiful, gotta say. I can't really say that I have all that much to say about that one either. It's a pretty simple style, sound, and lyrically pretty simple what they got going on here too. It's pretty fun though. You know, I like the use of some acoustic guitar while kind of having this theatrical rock vibe. It does kind of have that western feel to it still, but it just feels very cinematic, I guess, if that makes any sense. And there's like some sort of love triangle thing going on in the lyrics. You can really tell that the lyric writing in between this project and his main project don't really shift too much, but I don't necessarily mind it either. And I gotta say that track did have a pretty catchy hook to it as well. I did appreciate that. Home Like You is the name of the next song. Okay, this is sounding a bit different. This has a really good rhythm to it. Nice. Very nice strings on this track, just in general. Got such a likable cadence in this song. The singing just flows really well. Nice. We're still kind of having lyrics about a young man and woman kind of falling in love, kind of not. Kind of seems like it's following a narrative, but also sort of seems too vague to be doing something like that. But wow, definitely like that one a lot better than the other ones, just because it did a lot more rhythmically speaking than those ones did. It just had such a smooth flow to it and such a likable cadence. Really just something that you can get into the mood of a lot easier, and it did something. It did something different. That's what I really liked about that one. Separate and Ever Deadly is the name of the next song. Very interesting strings in this track again. Okay, so Miles is singing on this track. I was thinking so. That had to be like a duet thing going on there. I just don't know what Miles Kane's voice sounds like. This one is just so fun to listen to. I have a lot of chemistry on this track. That drumming, though. Okay, so for some reason I was thinking that Miles Kane wasn't doing vocals on this album and it was just Alex Turner, but I am fairly certain he was on that track, because otherwise, you know, it's gotta be, because they were kind of having the whole duet thing going on, and it had sounded really good together with one person finishing the lines, the other continuing it. Sounded really good. The singing on here was just pretty nice, and has been the whole way through, so, you know, I mean, I suppose that's to be expected. More lyrics about this kind of love triangle thing that's going on. Nothing particularly new there, but that one had a really fast pace to it, and it was just a lot of fun to listen to. And I'm kind of getting that from a lot of this album. It kind of reminds me of AM, if anything, by the Arctic Monkeys, because of the fact that it seems like it's just kind of fun and doesn't do a lot else outside of being just some catchy rock music, you know? But I'm totally okay with that. Instrumentally, it does more than that, though, and I think that this is going for a totally different style in that way, and that this just sounds very, like I said, theatrical and dramatic, and just seems like it could be played in movie trailers, things like that. Really would fit that. The Chamber is the next song. Alright. Very subtle intro there. Yeah, okay, they're both singing here. Very unique what they're doing with layering their lines on top of each other like that. I want to say we got some violin in the mix probably there. Sounds really cool. Okay, I'm hoping something exciting happens here. This is very interesting. Okay, I guess it did something interesting. Yeah, I'm not really sure how to feel about that track in its entirety, because it kind of was likable in the beginning, and it did seem like it was going somewhere, but that sort of orchestra vibe it had going on there with very lavish instrumentation and their layered singing, I was kind of expecting it to break out into something a little bit different. It sounded like an intro going through most of the song, but it still sounded really nice, so I guess it's not a complaint. Then you had this just extremely subtle outro bit, and I'm not really sure what that was doing, but it sounded unique, I guess. But either way, that's probably the most, like, standout notable song on here, but it's definitely not one of my favorites. Only the Truth is the name of the next song. Love that echo. Sounds really cool. Okay. Really liking how densely layered this portion is. Oh. Alrighty then. Okay, I like the chant-like chorus on that track. The way that it was very staccato and just loud in the mix seemed very present in the track, and you always knew it was coming up. It's kind of easy to like the way that that's set up, I suppose. And once again, the way that it just builds up and has a lot of energy. It's just a fun song to listen to. I gotta say the outro was pretty interesting too there. It kind of had these bubbly sounds going on. One way or the other, it does make for smoother transitions in between songs that way. And I feel like that was kind of up for interpretation as to what the song may be about, but obviously it's about someone who claiming to tell the truth about something but isn't, possibly using that and other manipulative tactics to gain control of a situation. Not sure entirely, but, oh, there's names on the next one. I don't just have to... Why is this one all Alex? The only time they list names, and it's all Alex. I don't understand. But My Mistakes Were Made For You is the name of the next song. And more of those Western style plucky strings going through. Has such a smooth sound to it. It's just very likable in general. Yeah, it appears that one's a single, and it's definitely a highlight too. Bio here says that it is somewhat reminiscent of the 1960s sound of Scott Walker's music, and I totally agree with that. That sums it up pretty well. That does definitely remind me of that as well. While not necessarily diving into any different topics necessarily, this is some really nice writing from Alex on here that works very well. And speaking of him working very well over a track like this with the very fancy sounding instrumentation but still kind of taking a pop rock tone to it, sounds really good. His smooth flowing vocals work really well on something like this. Black Paint is the name of the next song. So that's kind of a older style sound to it. I like how it cuts way back like that, and it keeps the energy of the track alive a little bit like this. Just gonna be strangely experimental on all of these outros, I guess. Really do not know what's going on here. That ending part seemed really strange to me because it sounded, once again I've made this comparison a lot, but it sounded like movie music, like something was happening in the movie and it needed some important sounding music to accompany it. That's exactly what I was getting from that, except I don't have a visual to go off of here. I'm just hearing the music. Feels like I should be watching something along with that, or I don't know, something to that degree. Maybe that's just a personal problem, but I don't know. That's all I could think about while I was listening to that part. But either way, pretty catchy track on here. Definitely seems to be about some unfaithfulness in a relationship. I really like verse 3 on here. The paper cuts from the love letters you never gave him could not meet your newfound needs for misbehaving. I find that strangely poetic, I guess. Pretty fun track. Pretty nice one once again. I don't know why they're sticking with all the weird experimental sounding outros when the rest of the song sounds so normal, but it's a thing, it's there, I guess I'm okay with it. I Don't Like You Anymore is the name of the next song. Kind of ominous sounding on this track. Okay. There we go. Picking it up a little bit. I'm hoping this doesn't go back and forth between both sounds present that much, because I don't think it can pull off doing that switch up very many more times. Okay. This is much better. Just kind of layering it instead. Okay. That's the one way you can do that. Kind of wish the vocals weren't so distorted here. Again, kind of becoming strangely experimental at the end. Not sure why. Stylistically speaking, in its sound, I like that song a lot. I think they did a good job of switching it up when it could be. And then when you had a more dramatic change in sound about a quarter of the way into the song when the chorus comes in, I'm glad they didn't try to strip it back and do that again, because then you're kind of on this roller coaster ride of sound tendencies. And I'm glad that they brought it back in a different way that didn't seem so dramatic that it was just jarring. But the lyrics on that track were kinda awful, gotta say. I don't know, I guess I can give the benefit of the doubt in that we're talking in character here. That is definitely my hope, because otherwise this seems kind of sad and pathetic. Right down to the use of the phrase, "I don't like you anymore." That just tone of everything on here, it just seems like girl didn't like him back and now he's pissed off at her about it. But like I said, I'm hoping that's self-aware, and I will give the benefit of the doubt in that way. In My Room is the name of the next song. Very theatrical, but it seems like that sense of it is completely taken over it at this point. This sounds like it could be in a musical or a play or something to that degree. That's not necessarily a negative, but once again, I don't have a visual to go along with this, so when there's long stretches of instrumentation that feel like they would be intensifying something that's on screen, I feel like I should be looking at something that I'm not looking at. But regardless, pretty fun sounding song, and lyrically, this is just more about him getting rejected seemingly, so okay. Somebody commented on here, this is perfect for a James Bond movie. Definitely the vibe I was getting as well. The Meeting Place is the name of the next track. The further she strays, I'd learn bad nights, and during the day, he's worried she's waiting, turn into the night. All he has, lying out from the meeting place. Okay, that sounds very nice. Sparkly sounds going on. If that makes any sense at all, probably doesn't. Okay, definitely one of my favorites on the record right there for sure. This one being pretty far opposite to the ones coming before it, and that this seems like a song about getting back together with your significant other. They're going back to their meeting place wherever they would have met up, and probably getting back together from what you can infer from the lyrics here. They've clearly been thinking about each other and still caring about each other while they were apart as well. So, kind of cute. Really bright, warm, nice sound on that track. Really accompanied the message behind it. In the end, it was very magical sounding, which is also kind of wholesome. So, you've regained my interest, I guess, with that one there, but time has come again. You sound like you're in a tunnel. You kind of get a picture of him just playing this alone in an empty room. Kind of a strange visual, but... So this album closes out on a somewhat somber and lonely cut. Appears to be reminiscing on a past love, at least to some degree. That's most of what's going on here from what I can tell. Kind of seems like it may be a protagonist as part of this love triangle that was kind of going on throughout the earlier tracks. I suppose if you really wanted to, you could probably make this fit into a storyline, but I'm not going to, and I'm glad I didn't because I feel like it'd be a bit of a stretch. I'm just saying it might be possible. Either way though, really mellow way to close out the album, really simple way to do so as well. I thought this project was just alright, gonna be honest with you, that's about how I'm feeling with it. It is very theatrical and dramatic and takes more of a pop tone than a rock tone. It's a little bit different than I would be used to hearing Alex Turner's voiceover, but at the same time, it's just not that different, and it's not that different to most things that already exist, and that's kind of what bothers me about it, is just that it seemed a little bit generic, kind of, but it did have unique qualities to it as well. It just didn't stand out a lot, didn't have a lot of bite to it on a lot of different moments. It had low moments, it definitely had high moments as well, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of catchy hooks on this thing, some great instrumentation. I really can't complain at all about how any of the instruments were played on this record. That was all done very nicely. But all things considered, it just kind of blended together for me, and I don't know, I guess that's just how I'm feeling about it. Might grow on me in repeated listens, but I'm not really gonna go ahead and suppose so. I think I'll throw about a 6+ out of 10 at this one. So let me know what you thought of this album down in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Drop a like on the video if you did like what you saw today, and subscribe to the channel for more music related content coming your way. I have a Twitter, you can follow that, following the link in the description below. But that is just about going to wrap it up for this one, and I will see you in the next video.